Yesterday we talked about Christopher Columbus and how he was a young boy who lived in Genoa, Italy, which was by the water, and how he loved to watch the sailing ships. Now we're talking about the 1400s, perhaps about the 1480s, which was a long time ago, 500-600 years ago, if not more. And we learned that he had a great desire to be on a ship, and he did leave home as a teenager, and he worked as a cabin boy, and he helped the sailors. And what happened with him one day, he was in some kind of a shipwreck, and he was able to go ashore and find his way to his brother's house, who was named Bartholomew, and his brother was a map maker, and he stayed with his brother for many years, looking at maps of the world, maps that had been made by sailors. Now, I told you yesterday that the people in those days thought that the earth was flat, and that if they traveled long enough, that they would tip over the side of the world into who knows what. But anyway, that is a myth. Miss Pam and I looked it up, and we found out that there is no evidence that people, especially the intelligent people in Columbus's day, thought that the world was flat. It was, and even the sailors that he sailed with did not think that the world was flat. And well, it was a myth invented by Washington Irving in the 1800s. So, and many people, just like many people today, they start their own myths or their own stories. For example, why is everybody buying toilet paper and paper towels? Who started that? There's no reason for it, but somebody started it and it spread. So everywhere in the United States, you cannot find toilet paper and paper towels because somebody started that myth. So it was the same thing with Washington Irving. I guess he decided to make a myth out of the time of Columbus that people thought the world was flat. Who knows? But really, most people, intelligent people in the days of Christopher Columbus, did not think that the world was flat. Okay, and another thing that we find is about the size of the Earth and how many miles around it was. Now, Christopher thought that the Earth was about 18,000 miles in circumference. That means around, okay? Most people in those days, the geographers, the ones that studied geography, thought that it was 23,000. But now we know exactly what it is, and it is closer to 25,000 miles around the center of the Earth, because they knew that the equator was the dividing point between the northern half of the Earth and the southern half of the Earth, which is called hemispheres. All right, so we find that they did have maps in those days, and if you look on pages 114 and 115, you will see that considering they had only a few measurements, they had a sextant, which kind of measured the latitude, their pictures of the continent of Africa, Europe, and Asia were not too bad. They were not too bad at all. And we're going to be reading pages 114 and 115. All right, 114. When Columbus lived, people did not know how large the Earth really is. Many people thought it was only a little smaller than it really is. Columbus thought it was much smaller. Columbus thought there might be a shorter way, or a shorter, faster way to reach Asia by sailing west. If you remember, he thought that if he sailed this way, he would eventually go around the world and hit Asia. He did not realize that there was two large continents called North and South America that were in the way. The first maps were not like those used today. They showed only the land men had explored. People did not know that two continents lay between them and Asia. And when Christopher Columbus discovers this new world, and all the people from Spain and Portugal and France and England came across, and they continued to explore not only the islands where Christopher Columbus first landed, but the great landmass where Mexico is, where the United States is, where Canada and Alaska are. And we find that as they continue traveling across and even reach the Pacific Ocean, they were able to make better maps to show this part of the New World. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to see a video on maps and what maps actually show us. And you could see here the map that is very, very rough. On page 115, rough means that they're not quite as accurate, because if you look at the globe and you see what Africa really looks like and what Europe and Asia actually look like, there is quite a difference. What I would like you to do is, if you can get a piece of paper and try to make a map of your room, and I'm going to I want you just to identify certain parts of your room. I don't want you to put every single little thing. Now you might be sharing a room with a brother or a sister. Your room, I don't know if your room is a square. It could be long like this, or a rectangle, or it could be like this. That is what you have to determine. All right, what you have to determine is where the door is. The door might be here. So if you have a door here, you would have it like this. Your door might be here. All right, then you are to draw a bed. I don't know which way you want to put your bed. Make a rectangle. Maybe you could put a little blanket with a little design and maybe a pillow. So you put your bed where your bed should be. If you have a window in your room, make a window. I'm going to put my window here, and I'm going to use this for a window. So this could be your bed. If you have a window, make it with like that. All right, if you have a dresser, maybe you have two dressers, whatever it is, make the drawers. You don't have to put lamps or anything on it, just the dresser. If you have a closet someplace, a closet would be bigger. Okay. All right, if you have a desk, we'll make a desk like a table. So this is your bed, this is your window, this is your closet. This is your dresser. It's the drawers where you keep your clothes. This is your desk if you have one. Okay, and just place them around the room where they should be. See, I don't know where they would be. If you have two beds in your room, put two beds. If you have two dressers, put two dressers. Some of you may have a big dresser and a little dresser. So if you have a big dresser, put your drawers. Okay. Now I don't need to have a lamp or anything else like that. Just the basic furniture that you have as your map. Okay. Now you're going to be seeing a video, a general video, about what maps have. That they have symbols. Different things are used to show different items, symbols. They have a key, so you could tell what something stands for. So you will watch this video. And don't forget to try to draw a map of your room. All right, now that you've watched the video, I want to just give you a little bit of background. Now, a cartographer is a map maker, and that's what Christopher's brother was. Remember, his name was Bartholomew, and he lived in Portugal. So a cartographer is someone who enjoys studying and making maps. The first maps were made by painting on parchment paper. Parchment was probably the dried out skin of an animal. Maybe it was a sheepskin. Those maps varied in quality. Since the maps were difficult to make, not many were made. The oldest known maps are preserved in Babylonian clay tablets. So you're talking about the Babylons, which is centuries and centuries before Christ. Over time, better tools and technology allowed cartographers to refine their skills. The invention of the printing press led to the mass production of maps. Today, we use computers with specialized software for maps. You know that you can GPS any place you want to go in your own car. There's a map that will take you, as long as you know the address, where to go and how to get there. We have satellites in the heavens that show us the world, and people can make maps from the pictures that they take from up there in the sky. And you can see that we're pretty good in how we have made our maps. And of course, we have more technology now than they did in Christopher Columbus's time. So anyway, I hope you learned something from the map video. And tomorrow we will continue our story of Christopher Columbus.